and then re-etch it. Sometimes I'd proceed straight away with color, and in which case I'd do slightly different kind of processing. But I'll try to cover that in a little later, a little video. But for now, you can see how it's washed out. The image is very dim because most of the drawing material has been washed out. Now this sort of flat, solid area down here is a bit dodgy. I'm not too worried about that. It'll probably fill in eventually, and I don't really mind too much if it doesn't, because this is the first color, and the way I work, nothing is very critical, certainly in the beginning. So I'm going to proceed now with replacing the drawing material with asphaltum. I'll show you that in just a second, and then roll it up and take a couple of proofs. This is the inking slab, and I've got black rolled out now. This is a combination of roll-up black, which is quite soft, and slightly harder ink, which is this Graphic Chemical Sennfelder Crayon Black number 1803. That's very stiff ink. And then the softer ink is this roll-up black, so I do a mixture of both. I've got that black rolled out there, and there's the roller. I've rolled that up a little bit so far, and I'll just continue for a minute just so you can see what that looks like. So that's it, that's ready to go now. So I'm just going to rub it up with this asphaltum. So it's a rag or a cloth, and I put a little bit of turps in because this asphaltum is very stiff. But anyway, so the drawing material is washed out. It's more or less dried, so I'll just rub it up with this now. Remember, it's only the image area that you're interested in processing in this way. So it's just applying the asphaltum in a thin layer. It should look something like that. And then just take it down to a very thin amber colored layer. This is just to replace the drawing material. And it's an ink attractive substance, the asphaltum. And that's it. And then you can just let that set for a little while, or as long as you like. Get a cup of tea. Now, I'm just going to add some water, and that's going to dissolve that asphaltum layer, and you should see it sort of lift off, and the stone kind of tidy up. Now, this is the gum etch dissolving, and the asphaltum is being lifted off. I'm using a cloth rather than the sponge here, because this is a fairly messy job, and I don't want all this junk to go into the sponge. So I just wash it off, gentle. It's really the water that's doing the work, not the rubbing. Okay, so then you've got something like that, and then we'll use the sponge now. And then we want to make sure the sponge is just damp, beautifully damp. No standing water, no puddles. Very, very evenly damp. You spend a bit of time doing this, again, not rubbing. This sponge should just float over the surface. That should be okay now. Let's see how she takes ink. Another little dampen. That's okay. And then a little dampen. When we're doing the margins corrections as well. I haven't used any more ink. Make sure that this is rolled up very evenly but very lightly. I've got it rolled up, and I've gummed it up. I poured a little bit of pool of gum into it and then run that over with a sponge and taken it down to quite a thin film. And I'm using this fan just to dry it off now. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to mix a re-etch, and I'll show you that in a minute. I made some corrections, and I'm going to re-etch it now. So this is a good time to make corrections. I'll just show you a couple of things I've done. I just cleaned up the sleeve on that. It was the spatter actually broke through the gum stencil, so I used the blade and scraped that out. And also removed some lines here which I thought were a bit sort of too confining. I'm not sure how I want to kind of deal with that head, but anyway, that was the wrong choice. So I've scraped those out. You can see it's sort of roughly done. I'm just trying to, hold on to the kind of spirit of the drawing a bit. And done a couple of scrapes in here just to throw a little bit more light in it. Cleaned up this window a little bit. And trying to, hold on to the kind of spirit of the drawing a bit. And done a couple of scrapes in here just to throw a little bit more light in it. Cleaned up this window a little bit, and that's about it for the corrections at this point. This is just negative corrections now. You can't really add anything positive at this point before until you do like what's called a counter etch. We'll cover that in another session.